Hi, I'm Doug.
And I'm Kathy.
Join us as we follow the moon. Today, we're going to take you over on a recent trip we were at Zephyrhills, Florida. Now, you may have seen another video that we've done with some of the attractions over there. We'll put a link to that up here. And on our stay at Forest Lake Campground, which we'll put a link to that video up here. But on today's video, this was something I was really looking forward to. It was the Zephyrhills Train Depot Museum, and I'm a train nut. I was really looking forward to this. But, as you can see, it was closed. Didn't look like it'd been open for a long time, nothing inside. So we go to Plan B.
So our plan B was to go to Dade City to the Pioneer, Florida Museum and Village. Now please stay with us till the end because we do have a special surprise for you. We had a guest that we interviewed. As we got ourselves parked in front of the train depot there, we went into first their museum. And the museum is filled with just all kinds of really neat things. I've always been a person who loved to go to antique stores, and this put me in my element.
And the best part was, the antiques weren't for sale, so I enjoyed it too.
This is true.
There were a great collection of old tools that they used before we had the electric and air tools that we have today. This is actually from the Pasco County Bank. That was the safe they kept their monies in. Everything down to a ledger book where they kept people's balances.
That was pretty amazing.
This is the linotype machines that they used at the Zephyrhill News.
Now, isn't that what you used at school when you were doing your school book thing?
No, we use stone tablets yet.
Oh, okay. That's what I was wondering.
But this linotype machine is actually one of the ones that was used in the Zephyrhill newspaper. And there actually was a piece of that newspaper on display that was printed from that linotype up there on the wall.
Now, for those of you who are into the computers these days, that's the early version. And that was a page actually that they printed. Now, my favorite thing was the musical instruments and the dolls, but not the dentist chair.
There's a whole bunch of photography equipment and all sorts of things throughout the era. Now, when you go out the side door of the museum, you start to see the grounds.
This was one of the prettiest places we've been, and it's, at this point, one of my favorite places that we've been.
And the grounds are all open for self-tour, and there's great paved walking paths in between them. This is actually the Trilby Depot. The Trilby used to be the third largest rail yard in the state of Florida. This was actually constructed in 1887.
Now, was the museum free?
No. The museum was $10 for adults, $8 for seniors, $5 for students. Now, on the back of the steam train, those are red tidewater cypress logs, and they're estimated to be up to several thousand years old, those 3 logs. The steam train has steps going up it. You're welcome to go up to it. You can look in and see actually what is involved in a steam train. You can see the pressure gauge up there, where the fire was stoked. and the most important part of any steam train. The part that we actually got to try. That rope right there. It's the next best thing to blowing the whistle. That was a 1913 H.K. Porter steam engine. Now this is all inside the depot. It's a little more history on the depot, the lights that were used at the time.
It was all so fascinating.
Switchboard. The way everything was presented, you really did feel like you stepped back in time.
You sure did. Now, as we left the depot, we found ourselves in a little village. Most of these buildings had been brought in from various places. And just looking around the grounds, you could just take a logical walk through the various places. This was the schoolhouse, a little one-room schoolhouse that was built in 1926 from Lacucci. And I love those desks. I honestly kind of remember having desks like that when I was a little kid. And there's Doug's dunce cap.
They wouldn't let me see if it still fit though. Now on beyond that is a concession area that, because of the current situation, was not open. But on display here at the concession area were two fire trucks. The first one here is a 1921 American LaFrance pumper, and it went into service in 1922 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Over time, it was sold to the St. Pete Beach, Florida Fire Department, then to Port Richey's, and in 1977, after 25 years of service, was donated to the museum. This one I don't know the exact age of, but it's a newer Chevy based fire truck from Dade City.
Next to it was the Enterprise United Methodist Church. It was originally built in 1878, but a fire had actually destroyed it, and it was rebuilt in 1905. Now that little display case that you see over there actually held a couple of old Bibles as well as some hymnals. I believe it also had some information on the pastors. As you went out the door, you found yourself coming across the old garden path leading over to the Overstreet House, and this was just a beautiful home, and it was set up just as if you walked into somebody's home, they were still living there. It was built in the 1860s. When you go in, you do just get the feeling that like you said earlier, you just step back in time.
He actually said this was one of the oldest wood frame structures still standing in Pasco County.
So well preserved too.
The table set.
Now this kitchen is actually, the kitchens were separated by a little porchway so that as you cooked out there, the especially in the summertime down here, the heat didn't get into the house. And when you look out across that little porch out, you were looking at the garden, the chicken coop,
The outhouse.
and then this is upstairs. All the bedrooms were upstairs.
And again, everything's open. It's a very steep flight of stairs, but everything's open that you can explore.
Oh, it was a steep set of stairs too.
Now, this is one of the more modern buildings, as you can see on it. It's the Mabel Jordan Barn, and it is a new building, and it is there to house a lot of farm equipment. Was the original purpose. They do have some old furniture in there, a bunch of horseless carriages, and I think my favorite out of it was the Model T truck. But Mabel Jordan was the former president and trustee of the museum, and so this was put up in her honor.
I find those carriages, there's somewhat of a romance that you feel when you see them, the romance of the period.
It does have modern bathroom facilities in this building also, and there are a couple others located throughout the property. A lot of great tractors.
It looked like they also used this room for educating people when they can bring them in.
And again, lots more farm equipment from the era.
We were there in the middle of the week. What is this?
That's a steam thrasher. And again, kind of a forerunner to a tractor. It's kind of the technology of using a steam locomotive, but to make the farm equipment.
Well, as I started to say, that we were there, I believe, in the middle of the week, and that weekend we heard that there was going to be some reenactments, people coming in period dress, and there would be a lot more people. We were kind of glad to just be able to walk casually through and not worry about a crowd. This was one of my favorite places. I've always been kind of a shoe hound. If I find a pair of shoes that I like and they've got 20 different colors, I'm going to have all 20 pair. There's my hat. I was wondering what you did with it.
If I remember right, wasn't this the building that was moved in from Kansas?
I believe it was. And here's your favorite place.
Absolutely.
They kind of had this one hidden. It was turned away so that you didn't see the front of it. I guess that was for a reason.
Probably so the revenuers couldn't find it.
Just looks like a shed from the main part.
But when you go down around behind it, it has authentic to the period moonshine equipment. Wasn't operating.
That day.
It had at some point though.
Now, one of the favorite days in everybody's life was being able to go shopping. And this was just for both of us a really neat place to go in.
This general store was actually moved to the museum grounds back in 2000, but it was built in 1927 and actually served the residents of the Lakuchi area for over 50 years.
It was like your one-stop shop. Look at the candy jars. Kids loved it.
I like the post office. And the little mail slots there and the counter over here. Even cash registers from back in the day. Now this is a new building that's been put in, and it is the wood shop. And even though it's a newer building, everything that you see inside the building goes back into the local history. Now there are some wood shavings around, and it is used. They will from time to time have demonstrations in there on the equipment. Right beside that, this little barn you see here is the blacksmith area. It's open, again, because of the Florida heat. You have to have as much ventilation as you can. But this was all true to the period blacksmith equipment that was used there in the area. Down to the bellows and the furnace. Just outside that sat this ladder truck, and didn't find any information on it, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Now this building was really pretty neat. I found some neat stuff in there, especially the fiber arts. The Coomer Sons building, wasn't that the same name as on the train?
It was.
Has several rooms in here, and each room has displays of things from various lifestyle. There's my hats. Actually, I think this was the funeral, where they did the funerals. There's your weaving looms, is that what they're called?
I believe so.
Sewing machines. I think I would have been in my glory there, as much as I like to sew. I actually used to have a little old sewing machine. Now this place here is the History Center, and that right there was the sugarcane mill. And inside here, we're going to meet someone special.
Find out that 3 of these buildings that are here are connected to my ancestry. By 1850, I had 3 sets of ancestors that was here in what was called Fort Dade at the time. The Overstreet House, for example, was built by my great-great-great-grandfather's first cousin, John C. Overstreet built it. It was built before the Civil War started. And when the war came, there was 4 Overstreets, and they all went to fight in the Confederacy. My grandfather was wounded at Gettysburg, and he was taken to Fort Delaware, and there was no food. He actually died of starvation. His brother Silas was a doctor, so he made it through the war. He did not come back to this area and settled in North Florida. And I often imagine about what he went through in 4 years of the Civil War as a doctor. It must have been horrible. His cousin who built the Overstreet House, John C., he, when the war was over, he was a corporal. He had his primary duty of the Civil War was to play music, trying to keep the spirits of the soldiers up. He was actually with General Lee when he went and had that big important meeting with Grant. So he got to come home. And during the war, my great-great-great-grandmother moved in with Mary, and she gave birth to the last Overstreet, was born in that house. So we have that house. We brought it from 3 miles from here where the Rodney B. Cox Elementary School is, and we redid it. And also the Enterprise Church is from my great uncle Robert Sumner, was the primary person who built that building in 1904. The Mabel Jordan barn that we built, she married a person who came from the Laniers that was here in 1850. So I believe that this place is a wonderful place, and I get all excited when people come in and say things like, "It's great here," because it feels good for people to love this place like I do.
It's your heart. And what is your name?
My name is Susan Shelton. I was a Macmillan. I am a Sumner. I am an Overstreet, and I am a Lanier.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much. Now this is the room just beyond her office, and if you have any questions or any want to look into any of the history of this area in Florida, this is just an amazing place to get information. And there's also material that is for sale too.
You can certainly tell there's a difference between knowing the history and owning the history.
Absolutely.
And she absolutely owns the history. It's part of her. It's part of her family. And you can look around the grounds of this entire area and you can see the pride that's taken in it. It's truly a remarkable place.
She seemed like a pretty remarkable person too.
Absolutely. Those red arrows that you see are all pointing to things that are pertaining to people right there in the area. Now this is another recreated building. It's the Blanton Packing House. And this was built to be a replica of the fruit packing house. It was opened in 1910, and they shipped citrus from the original packing house across the country until 1989. This is actually a replica of the first phase of the original facility. There is some fruit packing equipment in here, but there's a lot of other goodies. And as you take a look at those, we want to thank you for coming along on this journey with us today. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, please do so. Give us a thumbs up, and we appreciate you coming along with us as we follow the moon.
Thank you.
There's my favorite player piano.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for watching this video. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and be sure to ring the notification bell so you'll know when we have new videos listed. Also, be sure to check out our blog at followthemoon.us and also our Facebook page at Follow the Moon and on Instagram at Follow the Moon Travel. Thanks.